I still don't quite understand. Like, okay, where did all these people come from? Like pre-pandemic, like it wasn't a stable market as far as like supply and demand. We were still in pretty much a seller's market, but like it wasn't as bad as it is now. And now even like the rents and rental properties, it's like there's a shortage of rental housing. Even there's a shortage of regular housing. It's like there wasn't this much of a shortage pre-pandemic. So like, what happened in that market towards like you think if you're having lack of housing demand that or housing supply, it's like, well, everyone's trying to upgrade to go buy a house. So you would have more vacancies in rental properties and apartments. You're not having that. You're having a massive shortage of people wanting rental property. Like it's both all across the board. It's like, but where did all these extra people come from? And it's not just like here in Texas, like they're saying, like it's nationwide of like put something in the market, boom, rented right away. Or you put something on for housing costs, boom, sold right away. Like, so where's all these extra people coming from? And that's something that is kind of perplexes me of like, how and where are these people coming from that are renting everything and buying everything?
Well, I think it's like what we talk about. They're literally coming from all over the place. Everybody's searching for affordability, and you're seeing, affordability in Austin is a huge issue. Right. And you'll see more and more people from Austin move into San Antonio because you're going to see that they're living there. They're spending $500,000 for maybe a starter home. That's a little dinky house. And it's like, shoot, for $500,000 in San Antonio, I can get a hell of a house.
Not even that. It's like Austin has even a tighter market than we do. Significantly tighter market.
That's what I'm saying.
But like everyone's searching for affordability. Like I don't think it has anything to do with affordability because I'm talking about like why is there such massive demand for housing? There wasn't, and it's like half of the months of inventory and supply than there was pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, so where'd all these extra people come from?
That's what I'm saying. Like people are looking for affordability from all other states.
So, but why is the entire nation have that problem? Nobody has it's like we have so much supply and no demand. Like every article I read from the East Coast, West, North, South, everybody is like, there's no houses to buy. There's nowhere to rent. All the rents are sky high. I mean,
in San Antonio?
No, the nation, everywhere. Like it's searching affordability. So that means people are leaving somewhere and looking for affordability. But then those somewheres that you're talking about, they're leaving from somewhere. Like, well,
more expensive areas.
But they're more expensive areas. But they have no demand. They have no supply. The demand there is still insanely strong.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And it's like, where are people moving from? That like across the board, everybody is like, there's such a demand for housing. Like, what caused all this demand for housing? I get if it was just like,
well, and don't you think that it could also be just because they see interest rates at all-time low? They feel like, if they don't jump on this right now, and they're like, well, I will want maybe a bigger house, and then you hear like the news, the media, everybody's blowing up like, well, Texas is one of the best places to live. Florida is one of the best places to live. So it's like people are like, well, let's just move there.
That still doesn't explain why rent. There's no rental property. There's nothing for rent either, like apartments.
Yeah. Well, they were saying, I was reading an article that said like a lot of renters are people that wanted to buy a home but couldn't find anything. So they're renting until they can.
So they can't buy a house, so they go to rent. So that's increased. So you're saying that there's just not enough houses and there's not enough apartments for rent.
Right.
So, but a year ago before the pandemic, that wasn't a problem. So where is all the extra people?
I think it's that. It's like the herd mentality, right? Just because everybody's out buying, everybody's out moving, everybody starts questioning, like, should we move too? Should we go somewhere? Everybody's leaving California. Should we leave California? Everybody's leaving Seattle. Should we leave Seattle?
So why does California and Seattle have the same problem that we have?
Because probably people from other parts of California are moving to other parts of California that are cheaper or better or more affordable.
But it still comes down to there's more people coming into a market.
Well, people aren't coming out of thin air. Like,
I know.
That's what it seems like you're saying. Are people manifesting?
I know, but that's what I said. Like, where are it seems like they're coming out of nowhere. Because like, so where are all these people coming from if everybody's having this problem? To where it's saying like, oh, like New York and California, you're seeing this massive drops in population. You're seeing a housing market that's depressed.
And you are.
But you're not. You read of markets and like California's still got the hottest real estate markets in the nation as far as home prices appreciation and low supply.
Home price appreciation by percentage or by You're just because they have more expensive housing.
Yeah, but that's what I said. But they're as far as percentage increase in houses and as far as properties available for purchase, like their entire state is like Austin.
Well, those were the things that I was also wondering when we talked about, but you said in San Antonio that's not the case. It's like, okay, yeah, so you have a tight inventory, but are your sales volume just the size they were before or higher, right? So, yeah, you might have a tight inventory simply because nobody's selling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, you have the hottest market because there is no market. You know, like nobody's selling houses, so a little bit that sells. So if
they're not selling houses in California, that means the people aren't leaving.
Or they're buying second homes.
That was just the thing. It's like, okay, so that could be something. It's like, hey, people are with cash are just buying up vacant properties and just sitting on them.
So for everybody listening, who out there feels like doing some research? Because, you know, we talk a lot about the reason we do Coffee with the Johns, the reason we put out the market updates and everything is because we do it more for ourselves.
Yeah.
And then we'll share it with you guys because we're doing it anyway, right? But we need to be educated as investors. This is the kind of data that helps you understand why certain things, like when people freak out and they're panicked, they're like, oh my God, Texas is, you know, it's on the board, it's in a bubble, it's got to drop, it's grown too fast, and all these things. It's like, you're talking out of your ass because you just don't know. You're not looking at data, you're looking at headlines.
Yeah.
But when you look, like we had talked about last year of Newsom being one of the top salesmen for U-Haul, right? And the U-Haul prices being what, like $200 from California here and like $1,300 from here to California? Because, or no, vice versa. $1,300 from California to here and $200 from here to California, so people could take U-Hauls back to California.
Yeah. Well, Brian Pauling just made a good point that it's like that could be a reason. It's like maybe the millennials are leaving mom's basement and grandparents aren't dying or downsizing quick enough, and that could be where it's like you had people that were living together and are now like, I want to go live on my own. So if you have a massive influx of, and that's where I was saying, like, where are these people coming from that are sucking all the demand from not only housing, so I can get apartments moving to houses, but who's absorbing all the vacancy apartments? It's like those people are coming from somewhere. Yeah. Whereas, like, where is it that is these people are leaving from?
And absorbing apartments and housing literally at any price point, because I mean, we see apartments, like areas in San Antonio that they're renting like a studio for $2,200.
Oh,
we're like, what the hell? And they have a waiting list.
Oh, just even like our rental properties, I put it up for rent, and I'm like, somebody's paying that price to live there. It's like, and that's what the market's bearing. It's like,
our rental properties are awesome. I don't know what you're talking about.
But even it's just talking about size. So like, it's the size of the apartment or the size of the house for the number of bedrooms and bath, like a 3-1.
You never heard that? Size doesn't matter.
Okay.
That's what I've been told.
Okay. So we're gonna have to. You didn't play the warning before we started. This,
yeah,
right?
We did.
Warning. Okay.
That warning is always there. If you didn't see it, that's your problem.
Yeah, if you came in late, I don't know. It started over from the beginning, but that's what makes a point to where like they're coming from somewhere, and then Val puts in there, maybe because of the pandemic, there has been more divorces so that people need homes. College students leave their parents' houses. Maybe multiple families who live together are now want their own. And that makes sense. It's like people have to be coming somewhere. And that's something to me, it's like, what would cause a market to crash? And why I'm asking these questions is like, if demand stops, it's like, so what's fueling this demand? So it's like, okay, everybody's wanting housing.
Correct.
Prices are hard. There's limited supply hitting the market. It's like, okay, so you have supply and demand aspect. If we increase the supply and the demand drops off, then we have the opposite problem of too low inventory. We have too much inventory. Right. So that's the question of like, what is driving these people to the new people, the demand in the market? It's like the low interest rates, all that beyond the low interest rates, the low inventory, beyond that. It's like, where are the people that can afford this coming from?
I think it's like what you said too, though, is who were the people that were most affected were your lower income entry level jobs. Your middle management, white collar? White collar is people that make more money, right? Blue collar is the workers. So, but middle income to upper income, these people, they were able to sustain. They had savings. A lot of people in their investments have been doing very well. That's the same reason why we've seen the stock market blow up, Bitcoin blow up, speculation all over the place, is because they've been doing very well. So I think, all of these things play a factor in everything. So when people say, what's the thing that's going to bring the market down, or, when it first happened, that people were asking, how did the pandemic affect your business? Like, it's hard to tell right now because it's not always just one thing, one area. It's what you talked about at the beginning. Everything is connected. It's, I remember when I was doing construction before I moved to San Antonio, we were going to work on projects and everything, and the kids that were in their 30s were living with their parents, right? Still from the '08 issue. Yeah. And I think also because, like, they were saying, well, they have massive college debt. They can't find a job that pays them enough to get a place, or they're saving for this, whatever the hell it was. Yeah. But they were in their 30s still living with their parents. Yeah. This was 9 years ago, right? So, yeah, that was a huge trend.
That's 13 years ago now. You're getting older, John.
What?
Back in 2008 and 2009.
No, that's when from 2008, 2009 that they moved in with their parents. But when I was working, it was like 8 years ago before I moved to Texas. Going on 8 years, yeah.
Longer than that. But anyways, with that, okay, so now that makes sense. Back to like, where's this demand coming from? So you take that all into account, all the comments on here, and thank you everybody for putting in those comments. I mean, that's the kind of discussion things we're looking for, because that's the reason we host the show, is we want to get, it's asking a question, we're debating it, and with comments from all these other people saying like, well, this is all these things considered, toward the things that I didn't consider.